Hi YouTube! This is the second video of my new knife analysis series. This episode is going to be all about flipper knives, and I tried to do a little research before I made the video so I could talk about flippers, and it was pretty hard to find any history on them because there's not too much. There's not like Wikipedia pages for flippers, and Kit Carson, who designed the flipper, or is known for designing the Carson flipper, and pretty much all I found was that it was created after the Switchblade Act, which pretty much outlawed switchblades, and they wanted a way to open knives quickly still, so the flipper was invented. And that's pretty much all I have on the history of it, but here are 5 knives, all with flippers, and they all have relatively different flippers. These two are pretty close, but all the other ones are pretty different, and I can talk about the differences. But first of all, I'll talk about the knives. So this is the Zero Tolerance 801, Ziti 0801, designed by Toddrexford. This is the new Ziti 0808, designed by Toddrexford. A little smaller. This is the Ziti 0452 CF, designed by Dmitry Sinkovich. The CRKT Shenanigan, designed by Ken Onion, which was also in my last and first knife analysis video. And the last one is the Browse Bionic, made by Jason Browse. So all of these knives are pretty different. Couple similarities, I guess. All titanium, pretty much the same blade steel, but there's a lot more differences than similarities, so I'm going to go through those. And since this video is about flippers, I will talk about all the different styles of flippers that are represented in these knives. And I don't really know what to call all of them, but I'll pretty much just describe the difference of each flipper. And the first one will be the Ziti 0801. So if you look at this flipper, I really like the design of it. It's a nice shape. It's not rough, and it has good jimping on it, so you can get a really good grip on it. You don't slip off very easily. And the detent isn't super strong. I wish it was a little bit stronger, but it's still nice. You can see it's really smooth on bearings. So this is nice shaped flipper, really grip on, and it flips out really nice and easy. And then it also comes down and extends out a little bit from the handle, kind of follows that line right there and almost matches up with that next line right there to make a kind of a hilt to the knife. So that's always cool. So that's that flipper. Here's another one. You can see this one is a little above the pivot if you look at it. Like the vertical axis, you can see it's a little above it. This one is right above it or slightly below it, so it has a different feel to it. It also has a lot stronger of a detent, also on bearings, but very strong detent, so it's pretty hard to flip out. But as you can see, Toddrexford designed the flipper really nicely again, with really pretty much the same jimping, but it does grip. It's not super strong and hurt, but it does a really good job at gripping, and it's got a nice shape. It's not pointy. The only gripe about this flipper is I wish it was either protruded out a little farther, or instead of being swept back, kind of like that direction, I wish it was swept up a little more so that you could grip onto it even better, because with the super strong detent that it has, and a lot of the new zero tolerance has, or they have. There you go. See, it's a little hard to flip it out sometimes. And as you can see, this one also, since designed by Toddrexford, a lot of similarities, but follows that line right there, creates a little hilt. The line goes up into the other side of the handle. So it's another really cool one. Here's the next one, also is zero tolerance. So if you see the trend of zero tolerance knives, it's because they're my new favorite production company, because I think they make the best production knives, highest quality, best materials, and lowest price with all of those characteristics. So this flipper also creates a hilt. Doesn't really follow that same line completely of the other handle, but it looks really good. Protrudes out pretty far, and I really like the shape of this one. As you can see, like I said, with the vertical line or vertical axis right here, you can see the flipper on this one is above it, so it's a completely different feel. Pick this one up again. With this one, if you're watching this knife video, you've probably watched other knife videos and heard people talk about light switching or push buttoning. So you can light switch it kinda. It's a little hard to, but push button, just push straight in. Oh god, a little harder, but you can do it on that one, and you can push button this one because the flipper's right in line. Kind of just push straight down instead of the pull back light switch. Well, when the flipper is above the pivot like that, you can't do that push down because it's not going to go anywhere. You're pushing against the pivot this direction. So this is only a light switch really, but it flips out amazing. I think he did a great job of designing it, and they did a great job at making the jimping, the shape of it. It's nice and rounded off so it's not sharp, and you can kind of put your finger however you want on it and it'll flip out without your finger getting too sore from messing with it all day like I usually do. Next one is the CRKT Shenanigan. And I had a lot of issues with this knife when I first got it, and because it was my first real modern knife, I wasn't too used to flipping knives, or my finger really wasn't used to it. So this jimping right here is the worst jimping when I first got it. I couldn't stand it. Just, you could see 90-degree angles, all just squared off blocks, and it's right where the flipper is, so when your finger goes down, it runs right into those. But now that my finger's toughened up, it's not too bad. Still, I just hate that design. But as you can see, the flipper, it's a nice design. It's a cheaper knife, so no jimping makes sense. They didn't do any extra work on the blade really, or the on the flipper really. But it looks nice, and as you can see, flips out nicely for a very cheap knife, and it's really smooth. Follows that line also, so a lot of these knives kind of follow that line. Some of them they hide completely behind the handle. Let me see if I can focus it. They hide completely inside the handle, so the flipper pretty much disappears. I don't have any of those because those are, a lot of customs do that. But there's that. That one's a little cheaper, so I won't talk about it as much. And the last one is the CRKT Bionic. So as you can see, this flipper is also about directly above that pivot. So push button mostly, and you can kind of light switch it. Kind of tough because of how small it is. Now this one, the way that flipper comes down, it creates a really nice place for your finger to be. You're not going to slip up. It's not just a hilt, it's kind of like a guard. It really really comes down and kind of goes back in that direction. I keep bumping the camera. But I really like the design of it, except how small and pointy it is. So I like the way it integrates into the handle right there. It doesn't really follow on this line, but it does on the finger choil line. But as you can see, it's just one big point sticking out. It's really polished and smooth, so it's not sharp or anything like that. It's just pointy into your finger. Really makes it uncomfortable when you're first doing it. I was having a lot of trouble when I was first opening this knife, like a year and a half ago. But if you kind of just open to the side of your hand, you can get it, and then if your finger toughens up like mine did after a while, you can flip it out perfectly fine. There's an updated version of this knife, the Generation 2, or the Bionic 2.0. The flipper is a completely different shape. There's a different detent, so it's like a completely different knife in the whole flipper area. But this one works just fine for me now. Kind of hurt at the beginning, but kind of get used to it. Like all of these, you kind of got to get used to the knife, got to get used to the feel of it. But I think flippers are the best way to open a knife because there's no other opening style like the Spyderco thumb hole or anything that keeps me busy for a long time, just constantly pulling my knife out and flipping it. It's probably annoying to other people around me, but I think it's fun, it keeps me busy, and I really like the craftsmanship that goes into all of these knives, the design work, the way it integrates into the handle and follows all those lines, makes it look even better. So that's pretty much all I have to say for this episode of Knife Analysis. Thanks for watching. Go watch my other videos. You can check out reviews on almost all of these knives already. And I'll have another video out next week.